Okay, right. So load shedding. Okay, all good, Eve. The recording will be loaded after the session, so all good. No worries. I know with load shedding, even with a UPS that I have here at home, it's still, there's still issues. You can never be 100% guaranteed that you're going to stay connected. So it is what it is. It's what we are. Yeah, it's our reality. So it's all good. Okay, so I'm assuming that that's also good, Leanne. No worries. Life happens, eh? Life happens in between when we're trying to have fun. The recording that as I mentioned earlier, only managed to get onto YouTube today is really just a very brief intro to the other two normative philosophies that are part of this learning unit. They are teacher-centered ones, so essentialism and perennialism. And then tonight we're going to look at two student-centered philosophies of progressivism and social constructionism. I'm sure, if not both, definitely social constructionism is familiar to you all. If not the terminology, I'm sure the method and the kind of paradigm that it kind of operates in will be very familiar to you. Okay, so let's take a look at progressivism first. Progressivism actually originated as a response towards sort of industrialization happening in Europe and America, and mostly America, but it had to do with a what should we say, sort of almost like a belief that the government at the time should get more involved and play an active role in promoting social justice and just basically improving the lives of the ordinary people. So that's kind of where its roots are. So it was more of a response to social and economic challenges of the time. And the early progressivists, goodness, were influenced by intellectual and social movements such as the Enlightenment, social Darwinism, all those kind of like movements of that time. And it really just was about influencing or promoting or um, negotiating the government to address social issues such as poverty, inequality, and corruption. I just think anything else. Yeah. Then kind of towards, I think it was just after World War One, it the sort of like the big hype around progressivism calmed down quite a lot, and it was almost like the country took a bit of a shift towards more of a more conservative political climate. So there wasn't that much emphasis anymore on progressivism after World War One. However, it definitely has had an influence in education. It didn't totally kind of disappear. It still has an influence. Basically, really just in the whole philosophy or emphasis on promoting social justice, improving the lives of the ordinary people. Um, yeah, sort of more left-leaning political movements kind of approach. So that's really the origin of progressivism. And if we have a look at the metaphysics and epistemology, because um, remember, metaphysics deals with the nature of reality, but because progressivism was more of a political and social movement focused on addressing societal issues. So it wasn't really a metaphysical one. However, if if you really look at it closer, you can say that from a metaphysical point of view, there is uh, more of emphasis on objective reality. I cannot speak tonight. I don't know, something has gone wrong with my brain and my mouth connection. But yeah, so there's more of an objective reality that can be discovered through empirical observation. So that, I suppose, could be a metaphysical component of progressivism, um, and that human reason can be used to improve our understanding of the world and to make more informed decisions. The emphasis, as the word says, the emphasis is on progress and on improvement, and that society as a whole should strive to make continual progress in the areas of social justice, economic equality, human rights. They believe that all aspects of life, including the political arena, the economic, socioeconomic sort of environment and situation and context, all of these aspects of life are interconnected. And yeah, metaphysically speaking, I suppose for them, the important thing was actually understanding the complexity of the relationships between all these components of life. So, yeah, as I said, empiricism is important to them. Um, Knowledge is based on evidence, not on intuition and faith. Social problems can be best understood and solved through observation and scientific analysis. So that's, yeah, very much objectivity. And emphasizing the importance of social knowledge and that we learn collectively. So the progressivists believe that most of the social problems, or all social problems really, are best addressed through collaborative effort, sharing knowledge. Yeah, I think that's pretty much all I wanted to say about progressivism. Anyone else wanting to comment on it? Have you read anything about progressivism? Are you familiar with it more than just book knowledge or having read about it? Yes, Vanessa. Are you there? No? We can't hear you, so I don't know if you can hear me. Okay, maybe
Can
something
you
wrong with
hear me?
this. Oh, there we go. We can hear you now. Yes.
Sorry. I was just saying in the
No
learning
worries.
unit, there's an article by Paris NA on modern educational philosophies. And if I click on that link, it just keeps opening a content page for Varsity College. It actually doesn't link through to the article.
Oh goodness, this is not the first time that that students have told me about links that don't work. You know what I think happens? I think they transfer links from one platform or from one year, wherever they store their database, and then I don't think they check the links because sometimes these links are specific, and if you move them, it kind of destroys the path. I don't know how it works in IT, but somebody once explained it to me like that. But okay, I'm Vanessa. I'm going to take that up with our um, academic team who actually put all these links on. Let me just make a note here. So it's the link to, what did you say the name was again? Sorry?
The author is Paris.
Paris, that's it.
Yeah.
Sorry. Okay.
And the
I'll
article
go and
name
look
is
that one up.
Modern Educational Philosophies.
That's it, Modern Educational Philosophies. Yeah, that's actually quite a nice article. All right. Philosophies. Okay. Vanessa, I will definitely look into that. And then what I'll do in the announcement, I will either put in a new link, or if I can source the article myself, I'll just pop it in on VC Learn under more resources or something where you guys can access it. But yeah, I will do that. That's actually a really nice article. I remember reading it last year. Hi, Gareth. All good? That's absolutely fine. You're welcome to join us. Okay, so Vanessa, good. Thanks for raising that. I will definitely look into that. There's so few good articles that if there is one, then you do want to kind of have access to it. Okay, so then just to really wrap up progressivism, if we just quickly sum it up, it's basically, it does reflect a commitment to empiricism. Um, it focuses a lot on collective learning. There's a lot of focus on social problems that can be solved or understood through observation, critical thinking, collective or collaborative approach, drawing on the expertise and experience of various people. So that is progressivism. And if we look at progressivism in education, there's quite a few kind of like positive, I think, elements of progressive in education that and I think a lot of us use it in our classrooms anyway without even realizing it's part of the progressive philosophy. But obviously it's student centered, so there's this is difficult, I know, with CAP's curriculum and a lot of our discipline module content, but the idea is to tailor make or tailor the curriculum or the learning or the education as such to the interests and abilities of your students, which we know is difficult. We have classes with, large number of students at a time, but that's kind of one of the core things of specifically these two normative philosophies, is that they're very student focused, wanting to actively engage with students during their learning process. So it's not just a drop and go kind of like delivery of education. Focus is also on experiential learning, obviously, which makes sense if it's student centered. Learning through real life experiences, internships, community engagement. So basically connecting the student with from between the classroom and the outside world, so just helping them to make that connection. Emphasis on social and civic responsibility. In other words, they sort of help the students or emphasize that the importance of the students becoming actively and involved or engaged citizens of a community or a society, or just a global citizen in general, so that they are aware of social issues and that they become responsible towards them and not just don't make it part of their business. And then collaborative learning is big in progressivism. You'll see that as well with social constructionism. Big emphasis on collaboration, learning from each other, appreciation for diversity. It's not like essentialism, which, didn't really give much focus on diversity. But yeah, so preparing students really for the real world, where collaboration is kind of part of the modern workforce that we have today, and encouraging them to respect and learn from others that have different viewpoints to their own. So there's a big emphasis on that. Then also they focus on students being flexible and adaptable. Obviously in the 21st century, where change is, I don't know, it's not like the norm, it's just like, it just is. There's nothing different. But that to help students to be adaptable to change and to keep up with new developments, new ideas, and a big thing, to learn from failure and just to be willing to move on, to learn, move on, accept change. So there's a lot of focus on that. And then also the progressive classroom is totally democratic. Teachers are in collaboration with their students. There's mutual respect. There's sort of like critical thinking discussions and debates where they both learn from each other. So yeah, it's basically emphasizing student learning, learning from real life experience, being involved with getting to know people from different or diverse backgrounds, listening to diverse explanations, and taking part in kind of debating. And so that's kind of the progressive classroom. And I think it would be great, I don't know, to strive towards something like that. I think obviously it would take a lot more planning and a lot more, what's the word? You would have to be confident in what you're doing and not feel threatened by your students. I know some lecturers don't want their students to have too much to say in class in case they know too much. But yeah, I think progressivism is something that would definitely work in our lecture rooms in small dosages, I suppose, because we do have a lot of students. Okay, so that's progressivism. Any comments or something you just maybe want to discuss or know more about with regards to philosophy of progressivism? By the way, there is going to be a pop quiz after this, so just saying, just in case you're falling asleep there. Yes, Frank, it does. It does sound like a modern classroom. And I think with, from with the philosophies going forward, well, there's not, we've basically covered the main ones, but progressivism, and you'll see now also with social constructionism, I think those are the two driving forces at the moment where we're wanting to head towards. But yeah, we still have a way to go. But at least it's exciting, and I think the fact that education in South Africa, and I was talking to some students here last night about this, I think it's exciting times to be in education now in South Africa. I think things are going to change, and I think it's going to be very exciting to be part of it. So yeah, all right. If there's no other comment or questions, I'm going to go on to. No, I think I've got one too many. Go on to social constructionism. I'm sure you've all heard of. Social constructivism is a group work without forgetting the individual purpose in the group. I'm just putting this out there as my funny side. Okay, that's cool. Yes, actually, Taryn, it's quite interesting because there is actually a difference between social constructionism and constructivism, which is yeah, the constructivism is you've actually described the combination of the two very well, which is exactly what it is. It's group work without forgetting the individual purpose within the group. Brilliant. That is a combination of social constructionism and constructivism, because constructivism focuses more on the individual cognitive processing, the importance of personal experience, prior knowledge, whereas social constructionism is more about the collective and social nature of meaning making. And so it's more to do with the role of culture in shaping our reality and our world. So yeah, but I like that combination there. Well done. Okay, so social constructionism had its origin in the mid 20th century, basically I suppose just a little bit after progressivism, kind of in the same time. Progressivism was more late 19th, early 20th century, but this philosophy was in response to objectivism, um, simply because they saw the role of social and cultural factors in creating knowledge. So they kind of was reacted against the dominant positivist and objectivist paradigms. It was about finding your identity and your and your source of knowledge within a social cultural reality, not with a kind of like objective positivistic paradigm. So they argued that the self and and your identity are social constructions, and that basically they come about or it emerges through the interaction with others. Um, Individuals learn to see themselves through the eyes of others, and that social interaction and communication are fundamental to developing or forming your own identity. That's basically the origin. The knowledge, yeah, as I said, knowledge and reality are socially constructed, so nothing is fixed. There's no objective entity. Everything is basically a product of the way it's interpreted by that person or by that culture or society. Um, yeah, power and knowledge are ultimately linked, so that the social reality is really shaped by the dominant power structures. Okay, that's we have personal experience of that. And then the importance of understanding the historical and cultural context in which knowledge and reality is created. So that is basically, I've given you now more of a definition of social construction as opposed to origin, but it's just really knowledge in social interactions and cultural engagement. So you need to understand the context within which the knowledge has been discovered or created. Then metaphysically and epistemologically speaking, again, as I've said, social and cultural factors influence the nature of your reality or your existence. Yeah, it doesn't. Philosophy doesn't really have anything to do with the nature of reality itself, but yeah, again, it rejects this whole idea of essentialism that everything has a fixed, intrinsic, inherent essence or characteristics that determine the identity. It doesn't recognize that at all. It's all about knowledge and identity and reality are all socially constructed within a historical or a cultural or linguistic kind of arena or factor. So the role of language also plays a big, there's emphasis on language as well, plays a big part of it, in the way that it's not just, language is not just words, but simply using specific words or phrases are actually shaped by our social and cultural factors. So our words and phrases reinforce our social reality, if that makes sense. What else do I want to say about epistemology, metaphysics? Obviously the context is very important. So your social context, cultural context. Again, nothing is fixed. Different contexts, different social contexts or different cultural contexts are going to lead to different interpretations. And so ultimately that would be different realities according to social constructionism. I think that is, oh yes, and the other important thing that I've mentioned there on the slide is self-awareness as well as reflection. Very, very important to social constructionists, that individuals need to be aware of their own social and cultural bias, assumptions that they make, and so that they can basically understand and accept the limitations of their own knowledge. So by having this self-awareness, or by continually reflecting on our assumptions, on what our beliefs are, what our knowledge is, the idea behind that is that we eventually avoid kind of repeating the same mistakes, the same social inequalities, and the same social injustices. So, yeah, a really great philosophy, I suppose, to practice or to bear in mind or to move within if you're someone who, yeah, who is that kind of person who is very self-aware and believes in unpacking and questioning your own assumptions and your own bias, because we all know we have a lot of that, and leads to a lot of other issues. Okay, then if we have a look at the social constructionism in education. Again, obviously knowledge is socially constructed, no absolute truth. So all our knowledge is basically products of our social interactions and shaped by our cultural context, and as I've said, different perspectives, different interpretations. Also philosophy in education that believes in learning being an active and collaborative process, so as well as progressivism. so that it emphasizes the active process that learners have to construct their own meaning by interacting with others and with the environment. And their emphasis is that on education should be providing the opportunities for this kind of collaboration and group discussions and problem solving and participating that everyone in the class is participating. As I've also mentioned, language it is central to meaning making. So it's language for the social constructionist is not just a tool to communicate, but it's a means through which knowledge and meaning are constructed and then conveyed. So language is pretty fundamental in the learning process. And educators or lecturers should actually pay attention to the language that there's not only that the students are using, but that's actually part of the curriculum, and include these discourses in their classrooms. Context matters, as I've said. I mean, all the reality and the knowledge is based on your interaction, so context definitely matters. Different context is obviously going to result in different knowledge being constructed and interpreted. So lecturers in social constructionism should actually consider different contextual factors that will be influencing the learning of their students. And especially, I think in our country, this is vital and I've had this discussion before, that we become culturally competent and culturally fair in our lectures and not give any one culture dominant airtime. And then multiple perspectives are valuable. Again, have mentioned this. They're big on diversity, big on respect for difference. Different viewpoints are to be valued and respected. Open-mindedness is something that's a core value for them. Tolerance, encouraging students to explore and to ask questions of different viewpoints, and not just to sit there and accept it or remain quiet. And I think in South African education today, especially in the schools, maybe tertiary as well, I think there's still so many subjects that are sensitive, and so we as educators avoid them. But I think there's a need for us to navigate that space, and even if it's going to be difficult and you don't want it to be confrontational, but you do want it to be a space that you can navigate, that you can raise difference and talk about difference respectfully, because I don't think we can actually move on really on a deeper level if we don't get to a point where we can do that. So yeah, just to create that inclusive and diverse learning environment that honors all your students' backgrounds and identities, but where they're not just it's not just a case of quiet acceptance, but it's a case of we want to learn more, we want to understand more. So I think that is a good thing. So, gee, that is 35 minutes of social constructionism and progressivism. My nutshells are getting smaller. So are there any questions or comments or anything that you've read that you want to share with us? Because the next slide is your pop quiz. So yes, Claire. Hello. I'm not sure if you can hear me, Claire, but we can't hear you.
Oh, I hadn't turned my audio on. Sorry.
There you go.
Um,
I thought maybe
so
I've done
just
something wrong here.
a very random thought that came into my mind while you were talking, and it's a bit off the topic. But while you were going through social constructionism, I just kept thinking about the work of Judith Butler. So specifically around the importance of language and how language contributes to a material construction of the world. So, like you were saying, we have to think about the kinds of language we use in our classes, the kind of language we ourselves use, the kind of language students are using, because like through that repetitive use of language, material realities come to exist. So I was just thinking that was interesting. And then also how
100%.
we are all constituted, or we all become people through our interactions with other people. So if I'm on my own, I can't be a me because there's nobody to differentiate myself from. So I was just thinking about these social relationships and how important those are, and how that is something that we need to think about, because yeah, it is through interacting with others and being able to differentiate ourselves from others that we develop an identity, and that we become sort of political agents or people within a society. So yeah, just off the topic, but I was just thinking about the whole time you were talking, I was like, oh, Judith Butler, Judith Butler.
Judith
So
Butler,
if anyone
yeah.
else wants to look at that, at Judith Butler, yeah, it all ties into this as well. So yeah, very interesting.
Okay, no, great. No, gee, thank you for sharing. That is interesting. And it's, if you really think about it, it also ties in so well with the whole African philosophy of Ubuntu. And, that, as you say, there is no reality and meaning if I take myself out of every relationship or every kind of like interaction. So, yeah, thank you for that. No, that's she's a feminist, right? Judith Butler. I've heard her name somewhere. Or is she not? Is that not her?
Yeah, she's a
She,
major feminist philosopher,
a
feminist
feminist?
thinker.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. I've heard her name. Yeah. I haven't actually read any of her work, I must say, but I have heard her name. Okay. No, that. Thank you for sharing that. That's great. That's interesting. Um, But and what you actually said something that made me now also think of something is how these philosophies, and this is why I think this module is so maybe gray for a lot of people, and I think maybe still for me too, because there's really no absolute defining boundaries or lines between them, and the one evolves not necessarily as a result of another one. Sometimes they've evolved as a result of another philosophy, so then they go against or opposite or different. But also some of them have evolved in different sort of like situations or contexts, so it's either social or religious or spiritual or whatever. So it's very difficult to contain these philosophies, and that's why I think it's good to be aware of all of them, but at the end of the day, our ultimate philosophy that we are going to be using in our lectures is really just a combination of all of these, and it's something we're going to get to at the end of this module, this course, where we're actually going to look at the eclectic philosophy that we do have and how it has components of all of these. So, but thanks for sharing. Clonif, Clonif, Clonipa. No, I can't remember how to pronounce your name again. Won't you please tell me how to pronounce your name? The link that you've just put in the chat, if you can just tell us what that is about. I don't know if you're talking, but we can't hear you. Okay. I don't know if she can hear us. I'm not too sure what the link is for, but okay. Is there anybody else who would like to add something to this discussion? Anything that you've also read, or maybe just something you recognize within your own lecturing style that fits in with any of these philosophies? George. Okay. Thank you, George. So, through there, because you are because of how you relate to others around you. Yes. Okay, I'm going to thank you. I'm going to have a look at that link after this session. So thank you for sharing that with us. The other thing that I actually just wanted to touch on, which is really not crucial or that important, was just a comparison between the normative and the continental philosophies, which we finished 2 weeks ago. Yeah, just to, it's really not important, but just to raise some comparisons between the two. So normative philosophy, if we look at the nature of the philosophy, it's primarily focused on questions of what is morally right or wrong, what ought we to be, how should we be behaving, what are values and our principles, what guides human behavior. Whereas continental philosophy was broader. It sort of encompassed um, a wider range of philosophical inquiry, which really included um, more epistemological and phenomenological and existentialism, all those. It's just broader philosophy as opposed to normative philosophy, which is focused more on individual and human behavior. And then normative philosophy is also far more analytic in their approach, relying a lot more on logical reasoning and conceptual analysis, whereas continental philosophy was more interpretive and more interdisciplinary approach, more lived experience, sort of that kind of like context. And then there was another comparison that I wanted to mention. Oh, yes, that normative philosophy is more about, obviously, as we now seen, more about the individual and society, whereas the continental philosophies there was more emphasis on history of the human existence in terms of cultural and language ethics. Yeah, I suppose that's a bit pretty much the same, but yeah, the continental philosophies were just a little bit more, I think, artistic, if I can use that word, more poetic and metaphorical, non-linear, whereas normative is a little bit more structured with both deductive and inductive reasoning. Yeah, and also normative philosophy has had more influence in legal systems and political ideologies and ethical codes and things like that, whereas continental philosophy is more art and literature and sociology. So yeah, I thought I'd just mention that because we now finished both, just so that you, I don't know, maybe have a better picture of the differences. All right, so are you guys ready for your pop quiz? It's only 10 questions, and what I've done, it's going to be a QR code that you're going to scan in again on your phone, and you'll get these 10 questions. They're multiple choice. You select the one that you think is right, and I've only focused on the 4 normative philosophies. I decided not to confuse you or make your life too difficult. So it'll either be essentialism, progressivism, perennialism, or social constructionism. And each question starts with, it's basically what the students in your lecture room would be encouraged to do, or what the focus would be, blah, 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 and what philosophy would that kind of like be part of, if that makes sense. It'll make sense when you do it. Okay, I'm going to go to the next slide and then enjoy your quiz. Feel free to share your results once you're done. Hey, Praveen, well done. That is pretty good. I mean, but I'm assuming you haven't listened to the other two philosophies, so well done. That's pretty impressive. Cool. Well done, Claire. Yeah, it's as I say, oh, that's why it's hard. It's hard. These philosophies are very, I think, unless you make really deep, intense one-on-one study with one philosophy, I don't know if you ever really. I've tried in the years that I've been um, lecturing philosophy of education. I've really tried to kind of like conceptualize them enough so that I have a permanent picture in my mind. But yeah, I don't know. Um, and also, the more you read, actually, the more everybody interprets these philosophies differently as well. So yeah, again, it's hard to find objective truth. Okay, I'm going to give you another 3 or 4 minutes. I just want to wrap up in the last 5 minutes with some in-house information. Well done, Vanessa. Awesome. I mean, I'm assuming none of you have actually listened to the perennialism and the essentialism, so I think that's cool. Well done. Ooh, well done, Nicole. Gee, wow. How? That's brilliant. Okay. So I think, can you do next Thursday's class then? That'll be good. 3 out of 10, but he will be back. Ah, Gareth. Well done, George. 4 out of 10, not great, but not bad. No, I think it's awesome. I promise you, I mean, you guys are also hearing this stuff for the first time, most of you. And yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot of gray. Well done, Gareth. 3 out of 10. At least you got 3. It's 3. 4 out of 10. Not bad, not bad. I'm impressed. I really am. You guys at least getting some right. I tried twice and got different answers wrong. Well done, Tamara. Good, Precious. You tried. You tried. You guys should now, try again maybe when you've kind of worked or read a little bit more on the philosophies, and then maybe try the quiz again. Okay, so I'm going to give you another minute, and then I'm going to wrap up. I just want to discuss your ICE tasks as well. While we're waiting for, if I don't know if people are still doing this, is there anybody who has been playing around with AI, with this chat GPT? No one. Yes, Claire.
I've had a little look at it and given it a go. Because one of my friends, she keeps saying, go use ChatGPT, but it feels very unethical to me to use it. But in any
Oh,
case,
yes.
but the main reason I went on it is with marking these African philosophy assignments I'm marking. I was like, some
Oh,
of these
right.
answers are not a student's answers because I could just see not a comma out of place, not a
Oh,
full stop wrong, and couldn't find them plagiarized anywhere else. And if you put parts of the text into ChatGPT, you can kind of see if it's been written by ChatGPT, which was very interesting.
oh,
So it wouldn't give
right.
the identical answer, but it would be almost identical, like just a change in a
Wow.
word here or there. So not close enough that I could accuse the student, but
Yeah,
close
yeah.
enough that I could see that they'd definitely been using it.
Sure.
So I think it's an
Oh,
interesting
yeah.
future for our education
Mm,
as educators, thinking about how we're going to deal
yeah,
with
yeah.
ChatGPT, other AI.
Yeah, no,
Mm.
it is. I mean, it's actually just kind of making a joke of academic writing, and as Praveen says, it's detrimental to academia because where are we? Where do we stand now in terms of research, in terms of yeah, just the whole process of gaining and putting knowledge together. What I've been looking at it is what did I look at it the other day? I had some students who had been given also like an assignment, and one of the assignments was they had to come up with a grade 5 lesson plan that involved there was quite a few variables. It was a maths lesson. They had to involve patterns, mathematical numeric patterns, but they had to design this lesson plan around some social issue. And I actually didn't really, to be honest, understand exactly what this question was. Or sometimes the grammar and the syntax in these these assignments, I don't know, talk about making meaning with words. But anyway, so I really honestly didn't understand and I thought, how on earth are these students going to understand this question if I don't really know what the questions are? So I just typed it into ChatGPT. I just wanted to see. Oh my word, it came back with this amazing lesson plan with a 5-minute warm up, an introduction, an activity. It related this whole numeric pattern to, it had something to do with salaries between men and women. So the salary gap between men, but unbelievable. And I thought, oh no. And then, as you say, Claire, I actually got quite scared of it, and I thought, I can't do this. I mean, how? What are we going to do if all the students, and it's going to come soon, they're all going to start getting involved with this. I've been citing ChatGPT oh no, wow. You see this, and you know how sad is that? That now we're going to become policemen. We're not going to be educators. We're going to become plagiarist policemen, actually. It's very sad. Anyway, let's quickly wrap up. So all I really just wanted to end off with is to just check that everybody is okay with their third ICE task. I think there have been some of you that have already done it. It's just a quick comparison between the normative philosophies. And then I'm going to be loading the fourth one. Thanks, Vanessa. I'm going to be loading the fourth one tonight. So, and that one is due on the 24th of May. But I've now heard from some of the other lecturers that I'm not too sure if it's this group or what, but that some people are a little bit anxious or feeling a bit overwhelmed with all the ICE tasks. I'm assuming all the other modules are trying to get all the ICE tasks done now as well in May. So please, I don't want you to feel pressure or stress or anxiety. That's really the last thing that I want you to be feeling. So if for any reason you feel, you're just not coping, please just pop me an email and let me know. And we can, I'm quite happy to readjust something or to help you where I can. But the fourth ICE task it's not even going to take you an hour to do. So it shouldn't cause you too much time stress. I know everyone is really hectic, busy, and the point is not to overload you. That's not the idea behind education. It's about a journey, and I don't want you to feel overwhelmed so that you're kind of not enjoying the journey anymore. That really defeats the object. So please let me know. Don't feel bad to let me know. It's honestly, I will meet you where you're at, and I'll see how I can help you to get it all done. But that is all from me for tonight. If there's anything else that anybody feels they need to just quickly mention, please feel free to do so. Or any questions? Yes, Vanessa.
Thanks very much, Dr. Shani. Appreciate the fact that you're willing to help. I think a lot of us are just really feeling very overwhelmed with all the deadlines that are one after the other. And we work during the day, and some of us are in higher education, and there's lots of hand-ins and teaching and all that kind of stuff. So thank you very much just for showing some willingness to assist. Appreciate it.
No shame, absolute pleasure. Oh no, I really, as I say, I don't want this to become a I know it's not always going to be fun and enjoyable, but I don't want to remove it that completely. Oh, and also what I did want to say is that I have marked all your question 1s and question 2s of your assignments. I've just got to do question 3 still, and I am pleasantly surprised at how well, I don't know. Yeah, you guys, I've obviously just got a really great team of of students here, but your writing and your integration, I mean, there's 1 or 2 places here and there where, you know, there can be a little bit things worked on, but in general, I honestly have enjoyed reading your assignments. I was trying to think when last I had a group of students that I really looked forward to reading their answers. Normally you have like 1 or 2 or whatever. We all know that. We have those students that we, you know, they just kind of like tickle the boxes. But I've honestly enjoyed reading your ideas on integrating the philosophy with your discipline. And I mean, I'm not involved in, you know, all these disciplines. It's very interesting, the photography and the accounting and the just everything. So thank you. You've put work into your first assignment. I really do appreciate it. So yeah, all good then. I'm going to be finishing the marking this weekend, so your mark should come out early next week. And then, yeah, we'll get ready for assignment 2. But well done to all of you. And it's an absolute pleasure being on this journey with you. And anytime, just give me a shout. And thank you all. Have a super evening further.